Hi, everybody. Welcome to Conversations with the Experts. This is the Voice Institute's project in conjunction with the IAL to present people who have had a laryngectomy and their various methods of communication and to share a little bit about their journey. And the hope is that this is supportive for those who may be facing the surgery, who have newly gone through the surgery, or maybe have had laryngectomy surgery and are struggling with recovery or communication or any other aspect of that surgery. And so I'm so thrilled to be joined today, of course, by Tony Talmich and then Sid Young. And I'm thrilled to have Sid come and share his story with everyone. And I'm especially thrilled because Sid uses a method of communication that we don't get to hear and see very often. He uses an artificial larynx device, but it's not electric, it's pneumatic. So I think you'll agree that it is an amazing voice. It is a great speaker. And I'm thrilled that he's here not only to share his story, but to talk a little bit about his pneumatic artificial larynx. So I'm going to bow out and let the two of you take it over.
Well, all right. So, Zed, it certainly is nice to have you aboard. It's, it's,
Thank you,
uh,
Tony.
it's an absolute pleasure and an honor, to be able to give you this little interview. And believe me, you're a great friend, and is I couldn't I'm just, like I said, honored. So let's get started with these questions, my friend. All right.
Thank you, sir.
So,
My
yeah, the first question, of course, is going to be, please tell us about your journey from diagnosis to recovery.
well, as people might suspect, it's been quite a journey. And like we were saying before, I think each person's journey is unique, but there are some similarities also. So, where do I start? Um, I think I'll start with an earache. That was my first symptom. I had an earache. Didn't know what it was about. It was just a slight earache, and it went away, no problem. Um, and I may skip around as things pop into my head, you know. I know people talk about second opinions, and I said, man, I was so skeptical and so disbelieving that I had five opinions before I took action because when my first when the first doctor checked me, he just did a tongue depression. Look, you're okay. Pills, whatever. Um, you'll be okay. Coming back, and this is like 2 and 3 weeks apart. The second time, there was this one doctor that had this endoscope, you know, and I think, well, I know he was new with it, and he may have just gotten it because I can tell by the way he's kind of trying to figure it out, But he did get it down my nasal cavity and on down there. But he also concluded that he saw nothing unusual. Later on, because endoscopes is they're pretty pinpointed. They get right there, and they look at everything. But what I think happened, my opinion, later was that in his trying to figure it out and get it down, he probably went past it before he got it together and could see. Whatever the case, that's just my theory. But whatever the case, he didn't see it. Um, then I had three others whom same conclusion. And then I went to this one doctor. Um, I'll think of his name, but he took a tongue depressor and a light look. He said, "Oh yeah, I see something." And so with that experience, then later in some conversations that I would have, and people would say, "Oh, is it best to have a newer doctor or an older doctor or this doctor. I say, look, it don't matter what. What you need is a doctor that can recognize a problem when he sees it. Because in my case, the problem was there all the time. And various doctors, old, young, whatever, didn't recognize it. So my conclusion was you have to be able to recognize it when you see it. And then from there, we can move forward. So, can I take one? You want me to take a break here? Because I can go on and on and on. But
we can move on to the second question. I'm sure that we not only sympathize with what you went through, but we as other laryngectomies can relate. So
yeah. So I'll skim over sort of each topic and then just then once I was diagnosed for the 5th time because I was looking for a doctor or someone to tell me something different, but that difference never came. It was always the same. You got cancer, so okay.
Right.
So what do we do from there?
Absolutely. Yeah. I know, firsthand too, is just as well. Yep. Just like, well, the next question is going to relate to something that you and I, cover through our Zoom meetings quite a bit. And it's what advice would you give someone who is getting ready to go through the procedure? And what tips would you give them?
Well, I'll tell you one thing that helped me, and this comes after all the barriers have been removed. The barriers of doubt, fear, and you got some fear. I don't want to do this. All the barriers of your hope for a different choice, different outcome, whatever. Because I went through all of it. And before my surgery, when the surgery was being set up, and my doctor, every time he saw me or when I leave, he would say, "Are you ready for this set?" And I'd say, "Well, yeah, I'm ready." You know that kind of answer, right? That wasn't English, but that was just a response, right? And then another time, at an appointment, we're moving further, and he asked me again, said, "Are you ready for this?" Again, yeah, but yeah. And so I have a friend of mine who at the time lived in San Antonio, Texas, and she's a doctor. She's a surgeon, ENT. She's done a lot of this. And I called her, and I know she's busy. Even when I tried to get to her from her receptionist, she said, but I was recommended by someone else that told me to call at this time and she'll talk to you. And I did that. So I told them that. They went and got her. We talked for about 45 minutes of her time, right? And when the talk was finished, I felt relieved. Not that not that I'm going to avoid this surgery, but just relieved in that things will be okay for me. And what I got out of that is surrender. The word surrender loomed very big for me because when I surrendered all my, feelings, anxieties, etc., all that stuff, then I relaxed. And one thing that I know is when you relax, that energy flows out. The doctor can relax. That's why I think he was asking me, "Are you ready?" I'm pretty sure he was ready, but he wanted to make sure I was ready, which I wasn't at that time. But then when they were wheeling me, the day that they were going to wheel me into the room, and I'm on the gurney, and the doctor asked me, said, "Are you ready?" And I looked at him, I says, "Doctor, I'm probably more ready than you are." You know, I just want to do it. That's the next step. I don't want to be on this side of the surgery. I want to get on the other side of it because I've been through everything I can go through on this side of it. Unless you're not going to do the surgery and do something miraculous, let's go. You know, so I would say the word surrender, and it doesn't mean give up. People hear surrender and they think it means, oh, give up. Doesn't mean give up. It just means release. Release all the bad stuff, the fears, the animosity, all of that. And you'll find something else on the other side of that. Courage. You know, those fears will block your courage. And with that surrender, it will also help your tissues in your body to relax. And they will respond more favorably to the surgery that's about to take place. And not only join into the surgery, but then the tissues will heal better. You know, so surrender is a big thing.
I agree.
Understand it and do it. Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for that insight. Yeah, absolutely. That's I, that really is a really really wonderful way to look at it.
Right.
That's
At some point,
yes.
you got to surrender.
So said, will you tell us what advice would you give to the newly caregivers out there?
The new caregivers or the
Yes.
patients? Okay.
Well, the support, you know, the people that are being able to support what they're about ready to go through, you know, for these new larynectomies. What advice would you give them?
Yes, to the caregivers, and I'm sure they do to one degree or the other, that their support, their position, and what they do is very, very valuable. I had an excellent support system at the time. My wife at the time was my support. Very excellent. She was my eyes, my ears, my far-reaching self, you know. And without her and my daughter, I always say, because it's me, I could have made it, but it would have been 9, 10, 11 times harder. That's how important that support system is. And it's good for the people in that support system to realize their value, you know. And what I would say is patience and understanding for support givers, because the patient, that they can go through stuff that they weren't even aware of, and they can snap out at you, you know. Caregivers understand that, know that.
Yes.
That's not the person, that's not what they mean to say to you. But that's the expression of all this fear, anxiety, and everything that's coming out at you. You know, it's almost like being your loved one, right? What do they say? You always hurt the ones you love. And you're the ones that they're the most. In a lot of cases, you're the one that means the most. But ironically, sometimes they'll lash out at you. So caregivers have to understand that and not take it personally.
Great advice, my friend. Absolutely. So, tell me what would you want medical professionals? What would you want medical professionals beginning to work with laryngectomies to know?
The ones that are beginning to work with laryngectomies, well, they should understand everything they can about laryngectomy. And I don't mean just the surgical procedure, the surgical operation itself. They're mostly, I'll say, they're good at that. I can't do it. I couldn't do it myself, you know.
Right.
You know.
That's a fact.
You
Anyway,
know that's true. right?
Oh,
We all
yep.
know that's true.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. But
So, so tell me, I said, what emotional impact did losing your voice have on you?
emotional, well, of course, the unknown. I don't know, or I didn't know how the world would accept me. You know, the world. I mean, from myself to my wife to my friend to my neighbor to the world in general. I'm looking around. I don't see anyone else like this. What's gonna happen?
Yes.
You know, I remember. Well, that was before my surgery, but I'll tell that story anyway. That was when I was coming from a doctor visit when they had first told me you got cancer and we got all this planned for you. And I'm driving, I'm pulling out of the parking lot. I was really disconnected from my body coming out of the parking lot. And there was a friend of mine whom I know real well. He's coming into the same driveway and he's waving. I said, hey, I said like that. And I just looked over at him, slow motion, and I recognized him, but I wasn't there. And I just, yeah, you know, keep going.
Oh, yes.
Stuff like that that you go through that no one can tell you about, you know.
Absolutely.
But doctors, new ones, old ones, all of them, have to be, they should be aware of that. And I'm sure a lot of them are, not just laryngectomy, but any major operation that they do, that person has a part of him that wonders, who will I be? What will I be? You know, what will my position be? You know, all that stuff you don't know. And so you go into it with,
Absolutely.
yeah, with a surrendered attitude and see where you land.
Well, this next question is kind of a piggyback off that one that I just asked you. And what have you learned about yourself because of this experience?
Oh wow! I'll tell you one question for one response first. Once after my surgery, I was invited to San Diego and to speak to this group of doctors. You know, they did a panel. They wanted to question us and all that. And one of the questions they had was, if not for your laryngectomy, where would you be right now? And this was a Saturday, you know, I work, and Saturdays are days off, right? Says, where would you be right now? And people were giving answers, and I'm thinking, oh. And then I just saw myself. I saw a picture of myself. And he goes, where would you be right now? I says, today being Saturday morning, I would be at home, laying on my floor in my den with my kids standing on my head and jumping on my back. That's what I would be doing because that's what they love to do, and that's what I did. I spent time with my kids. I laid down and they just, you know, did all that stuff. I remember once I'm in the floor and I'm laying on my stomach. My son is sitting in the middle of my back. My daughter, who's about 3 years old at that time, is standing on my head. To me, no big deal. And so my wife passed by and she sees this scene, right? What? You got to get off your dad, huh? But me, I just thought, how much love is that? You know, how much fun is that? A unique scene. So it stuck in my head. And that's what I told the panel that gave me that question. What would you be doing now? I'd be at home laying on the floor with my kids standing on my back and sitting on my head.
Yes. So, Sid, tell me, what losing your voice, how did that impact your employment with your job? I don't. How was how did that impact your the way you continued on
Yeah.
to
Well,
work?
yeah, of course it had an impact. I was in sales at the time. I worked for Xerox Corporation. I guess I can say it. This isn't, we're not going to get paid on it. But and at that time, my company, I already said the name, was a new company. It was up and coming, you know. Xerox, I like to say the xerographic process is what it is. At that time, we didn't know the people that worked there, but I like to say it went viral. You know, it went around the world. It changed the way we did graphic processing. Who knew? I didn't know. But we were so busy at that time, you know, trying to keep up with everything. The orders are flying in and we can't put out enough. Things are changing fast. You know, that was a heyday for me. But I was in sales. And then when my issue with cancer and the surgery came up, and I would ask my doctor, will I still be able to talk? And he goes, oh, yeah, you'll be able to talk. A little different, but, you know, you'll be able to. So, as inaccurate or accurate as that was, whatever, it made me feel a little better, you know. And then I did work for about 6 months, you know, speaking. And at first I had a Cooperan. That was my first speech method. And I was working with the Cooperan before I got this device. But then the company also, where we were we were the West Coast, Southern Cal, and they were going to move to Atlanta, Georgia. Price, you know, it was expensive doing business in California, etc. And I had the choice to make that move, but I didn't have a desire to do that. And plus, I had went on disability also, and I was doing a lot of work from home. They allowed me to. That was one thing about that company, man. They bent over backwards to accommodate this situation. Even now, I'm still reaping from those days. Enough of that. But uh, finally, I did. It was funny. People say that I retired. You know, I know. I said, no, I didn't retire. They retired me because
Those are doing well. Yes.
yeah, working from home, doing that, and I'm leaving out something. But anyway, when I got to be, I think it was 66, that was my retirement age, and they said, "Well, do you want to?" I mean, what they told me was, "We have to retire you because you're already topped out. You know, we can't pay you more, but we'll." I went from disability to retirement, and the pay pretty much stayed the same. It was just a different category for the company, and I was satisfied with it, but more directed to the effect. I don't know. I have always sort of, and not so much consciously, but just the way I am, you know, I guess. Uh, I take whatever I got and make it work to its best. And in doing that, I found that um, it can work. You know, I would still go out and talk to people with my Cooperan, with this. In the beginning, they kind of look. I know, what? I keep talking. And I found that people, uh, people won't be comfortable with you until you're comfortable with yourself. And I mean, I still go through some animosity, especially if I have to speak to someone new for the first time. Then I'm thinking, oh, that kind of takes me back. Okay, they haven't seen this brand new for them. They ain't new for me, but this relationship is going to be new. So, I mean, I go through that. Don't get me wrong, but I had gotten so used to just talking
Yeah.
to people would treat me like that too. They would treat me just okay, and it came. I remember once I had to laugh at my own self because I felt disappointment when a person didn't acknowledge my, laryngectomy and just treated me like normal. Huh? And then I had to think, well, isn't that what you want? Well, there it is. Take it. You know. So I may have gotten a little off the question there, but refresh me if you need to, Tony. Or
That was great. I love that. I love that. That was great. Yeah, absolutely. So, Sid, tell me, what what is something you were told you could not that you couldn't do that you can definitely that you proved them wrong that you can do?
yeah. Well, a lot of things. One thing happened very recently. My birthday was the 10th, which is last Saturday. And they say you can't blow out candles. And everybody's, okay, blow your candle. And they would only have one candle. They couldn't have put 90 candles on the cake, right? I could have done it. It's going to take a little time, but I'll get to it, right? But there was one candle full of confidence. I leaned over, blew it out. They didn't know what just happened. A laryngectomy. Who is supposed to not do that so well or at all, blew out this candle with no problem. So that's just one latest thing. Smell. I'll jump on that because, and I don't know the people that are on. I don't know what they've been told or what they have been told to expect. But people think laryngectomies can't smell. And again, like I don't see it. I can smell. I can't smell as well as I used to. That's for sure. That's for sure. But I don't consider that. I can't smell. And I realized that the olfactory gland, which is, in the nasal, is still intact. And I tell people, you really smell with your brain, now with your nose. The chemicals from whatever the aroma is goes over the olfactory gland, registers, and it gets sent to the brain. And then the brain identifies it and tells you what it is. And when I hear people say, oh, I can't smell, to me, you just denied the olfactory mechanism because it still does what it does. But in your brain, if you think I can't smell, you won't smell. So you short circuited that. And even though the odor and all the signals are getting there, you ain't getting it. You can't smell. I say me, even if I can't smell, I think I can. And yeah, and like I said, I know it's not what it used to be, but I can smell. And again, let me check in with you to see if
Yeah, it's just definitely being very, very positive about that, knowing
Yeah.
that that's for sure.
Yeah.
And I did have one last question, but
one last question. All right. I think we have time for one more. And then I want to talk about your pneumatic device.
well, absolutely. This one is a very interesting question. Sid, how has becoming a laryngectomy changed your life for the better?
Well, I'm more confident. I mean, outside, yeah, there's a test to your confidence because things aren't coming as easy and as free flowing as they did. But inside, because I'm tapped into that internal confidence, I always look at this new, perhaps more difficult situation in a lot of cases. I look at it and I go, I can get around, I can do that, I can beat it. And then I live my life getting over, uh, the new circumstances. And it's pretty interesting.
Mm.
I think you remember, Tony, at the last meeting, uh, we were talking about speech, talking. And I said that in a way, well, first I said that it's not only speech that we're doing when we interact with people, but we're communicating.
Mm.
That's the number one thing. We're communicating. And yes, speech is our main means to that. But there's a lot of other factors that sometimes are more, uh, impressive than what you say, the words. So that uh, I think that laryngectomies, at least they have the opportunity to be better communicators. Because in the meeting, we talked about other things like rhythm and tone and expression and emphasis and stuff like that,
Mhm.
besides just speech. And I think before my surgery, I don't want to speak for everyone, but before my surgery, I wasn't as conscious. Maybe I did it, but I wasn't conscious of doing it. I just kind of did it. But now
Mhm.
I can do it unconsciously and consciously when I need to, you know. So that makes me a better communicator, I believe.
Mm.
Well, Sid, I want to thank you very much. You were
Yeah.
absolutely amazing, my friend. It was an absolute pleasure once again, and I'll turn it over to
Yeah.
Dr. Joe.
Well,
Yes.
Sid, thank you so much for sharing your perspective
my privilege.
and your advice and your story, right? And I love that you said everyone has their own unique story and they do,
Right.
but there are threads that people share in common, and hopefully hearing your story will be helpful for someone else. I was especially taken, and I don't think I knew this, that you had to have 5 diagnoses before you would you would
Before I,
believe
that's
what was
right.
going on. We fight, don't we? And we don't want
Yeah,
to believe what's happening, and we want another diagnosis, hoping that that next one is the one that's going to make sense with what we want or what we
I
know in our
want,
head.
yes. Yeah,
Yes,
it's
yes.
about what you want.
Yeah. So, talk to us a little bit about your pneumatic larynx, because you started off with the Cooper Rand, and then who introduced you? How did you get introduced to the pneumatic larynx, and how do you maintain your pneumatic larynx? Because that is a tough device to find in the States.
Yes, it is now.
Yeah.
Um, One question I like to be asked and answer is when people say, uh, why did you choose that? What made you choose that? And the first time I was asked that, I thought, I didn't choose it. It chose me,
Ah.
you know. I said, I never chose this. It chose me. It wanted me to be the one to do this.
Hmm.
And it happened like that. Um, I was at the time using my Cooperan very well, happily, and practicing esophageal, not as well, but nevertheless. And I was reading through Jim Lauder. You don't mind me mentioning his name, the Blue Book,
No, no,
you
not at
know?
all.
Love that guy.
Yeah. And I'm reading through there and I saw this advertisement and I'm looking, that's curious. Something new. I don't know. At that time, I was trying everything. And then they had the writing, and I forgot whether they had a little sound bite or not. But anyway, I thought, sounds interesting. I'll try it. So I sent for it. A couple of whatever, a week later, the thing shows up. Oh, okay. So I get it, unwrap it. Didn't look like much. Start reading the instructions. Then that did have a little tape in there. Put it all together. And they said, okay, put it up there and say it, and I go, well, first I go, just made the raw sound. And with that, I have another little spiel about that too. But then I put it in my mouth and I said, hello, like that. Blew me away. Hello. I run in there to my wife. Hello. And she reacted. And it was marriage from there.
You sound so good with it, Sid.
Yeah.
And the volume is good.
Yeah.
The clarity of your speech. I mean, it just really, every time I hear you, I'm so impressed with you and with that pneumatic device.
Yes.
So now that you can't find it in the States, it's challenging getting some replacement parts. But you were mentioning you keep looking and you get different leads. And so how do you keep it maintained?
Well, yeah, I was very disappointed when I discovered that it was no longer available. And I was disappointed with my with the distributor because he and I had talked many times. And he would send me stuff and we had a good rapport. Actually, I knew his dad first, Clyde. And we had a real good rapport. And then Clyde's wife passed away and he wanted to give the business up. And I was going to take it over at that time. He was going to send me all of his vendor information, etc., which mostly were in Japan. And he was saying that he wished his son would do it, but then at the last moment, his son said, "Okay, I'll do it." And so he began to do it, and for some years he did very well. And just one day, it didn't exist anymore, just like that.
So it's really unfortunate. It's tough to find that device, and then if you have one, challenging to maintain it. But you sound great. And again, I thank you for sharing your story and sharing your wonderful voice. And Tony, as always, thank you so much. And we'll
that was always mine. No problem.
We'll see you next time. Everybody take care.
Thank you so much, Karen. Thank you, Tony, and good luck and take care with everyone. I don't know, I can't see you, but
okay.
Till the next one. We'll see you then.
All right.
Okay.
Bye-bye.